We all have a bucket list, a list of things we want to do before we die. I'm a coaster enthusiast, so I just have a list full of roller coasters I want to ride. Okay, that intro was copy and pasted from another video, if you could not tell. About a month ago, I made a video talking about my top 10 bucket list coasters. In today's video, we will be talking about my top 10 bucket list parks. If you guys know, and let's face it, you probably do not, my coaster preferences, or in this case park preferences, put theming at the highest emphasis above all else. Also take in mind that I'm going to try and keep the parks international, because if I had a bucket list full of domestic parks, well that sounds weird, of all parks in the US, then I would complete my bucket list in 5 years time, and at that point, is it even a bucket list? Nevertheless, as always, make sure to like and subscribe, we really appreciate it, and it's the only way a small channel like us can grow. Let's get on with the video. Starting off in the number 10 spot, all the way to the United Kingdom, is Thorpe Park. Now this park looks amazing. I am currently binging through Walking Dead and praying that one day a zombie apocalypse will come. This is another weird fact about me. Although I will probably be the first to die, it just sounds too fun to me. The whole zombie themed area of the park looks to be some of the best theming you could find around. Combine this with a solid B&M wing coaster and indoor family coaster, you have exactly what I want. Not only this, but outside of the zombie themed land, there is so much to do. You have Nemesis, Inferno, Colossus, and Saw. I could care less about Colossus, but Nemesis Inferno looks to be a great invert, and Saw looks to be a lot of fun purely because of the theming. This is one of the many parks on this list that does not have one of the bucket list coasters on it, but it still is a bucket list park. The next park is home to what could be the number 1 coaster in the world, and yet it is not talked about too often, nor is it on my top 10 bucket list coasters. Warner Bros. Movie World in Australia. This park has the perfect amount of theming mixed with thrill. I mean, I guess it's not perfect, it's balanced. The theming is not over the top, massaged to perfection like you would see in Universal or Disney. It's just there to accompany the good rides. Going here for DC Rivals Hypercoaster alone would already be worth it. However, when you add on a solid Intamin accelerator and an El Loco, it's hard to not be drawn in. Not only this, but I have an oddly weird attraction to the Scooby-Doo ride there. The theming looks to be pretty good, and I in general love indoor coasters, so I think this is another one of the major draws of coming here. I really hope I can make it out to this park in my lifetime, especially because it's on the complete opposite side of the globe that I am. I think that's why everything is upside down there. Up in the number 8 spot is Universal Studios Islands of Adventure. I have to be honest here, if this park was located in Europe or Asia, this would be the number 2 park on the list. The fact that it's located in the United States at a very popular tourist destination makes me very conflicted. I know that I'm going to go out to this park, maybe even next year, but it's the park that I'm the second most excited to visit in my lifetime. That being said, a bucket list would be no fun if you could just complete it in a couple of years. It has to be a lifelong journey with pain, sweat, and tears. Okay, maybe that's a little too insightful, but it needs to take time. That being said, this has the best ever combination of theming and roller coasters out there. I really feel like I do not need to tell you all about this park because you have heard it everywhere else, but here I go anyways. VelociCoaster is world class with the highest level of theming on a thrill coaster, and let's face it, I'll eat that up and probably gonna place it as my number 1 coaster. Beyond that, you have Hagrid's Magical Creature Motorbike Adventure, which is probably gonna fall somewhere in my top 10. You also have Hulk and some world class dark rides and world class water rides. There's not much more that you can ask for me, so I really just cannot wait to get out of this park. And hopefully it's next year, hopefully, fingers crossed. In the number 7 spot is Italy. This is another park with a decent amount of theming. There are no world-class coasters, but that can be overlooked. Baron 1898 looks to be one of the best B&M dive coasters solely because of the theming. I mean, have you seen the station on that thing? It's the coolest thing ever. Additionally, you have a well-themed water coaster and a solid GCI Woody. There's a couple more coasters, but none that are super notable to me. Beyond this, you have a collection of dark rides that I do not know too much about. I just know that they are themed pretty well, and to be honest, that's all what I care about. Because of these reasons, Efteling in the Netherlands earns a number 7 spot on my bucket list. The next park, I would say, is the only park on this list that does not have a high emphasis on theming. In the number 6 spot is Energylandia in Poland. This is the park that will have the most roller coasters in the world, and even with just that, it's hard to keep it off your list. Not only this, but there's Zadra and Hyperion, which are both elite coasters. There's also some attempt at theming, especially in the Aqualantis area. You also have a super long list of supporting rides, most of them being family oriented, but nonetheless, it's there. I have a super odd attraction to Abyssus. If you told me I was going to Energylandia tomorrow, and asked me what coaster I was looking forward to most, it would be Abyssus and not Zadra. I know I'm weird. Now that I think about it, I'm dying to get on any new gen Vekoma coaster, too bad they were all in Europe. There's another Vekoma there called Formula, but that one does not captivate me as much as Abyssus does. Purely for Zadra, Hyperion, and Abyssus, and the slight details into theming, Energylandia wins my heart for my number 6 bucket list coaster. Up in the number 5 spot is Alton Towers, and the reason for this is pretty simple, their PR team. I love how they advertise their coasters as secret weapon number whatever, and give all their advertisements a really dark tone. They also use In Hall the Mountain King as their background music, which adds to the mood.
Alton Towers Resort, Britain's
I don't know what other company would go through the effort to project their ride logos on Big Ben. Seriously, they have a lot of money. Just because of the advertisements alone, I am hyped more than ever to visit their park, and of course, you also have the coasters. There's a really low high limit for this park, but that does not inhibit the thrill whatsoever. Nemesis looks to be a really strong invert, you have the record-breaking 14 inversion layout in Smiler, and you have a really good supporting cast with Rita, 13, Galactica, and Wickerman. Not only this, but you have a really high level of theming on the actual rides. There's a storyline behind each coaster, and a little fear factor in the storyline. Alton Towers has managed to successfully theme a roller coaster and make it good, without the use of a strong IP, and for that I am very thankful. My number 4 bucket list park is Europa Park. There's a high level of theming here, enough for people to call it the Disneyland of Europe. I mean, they did just straight up take the Epcot wall and put a roller coaster in it. It looks like a relatively bad coaster, but nonetheless they still did it. You have 3 extreme coasters with Blue Fire Mega Coasters, Silver Star, and Wodan Timber Coaster. You also have a really good dark ride collection and water rides and a flying theater. I grew up a Disney kid, and to find a park that rivals Disney in their theming and non-coaster category is rare, and because of these reasons, Europa Park is a park that I need to get out to someday and earns my number 4 spot on my bucket list. Okay, and the next 2 spots are 2 parks from Japan. I'll let you guess what they are now, but you will probably guess wrong. And a controversial opinion, firing it off now, my number 3 bucket list park is Disney Sea. We've all heard the facts and stories. Disneyland Sea is probably the most themed park in the world and has the highest attention to detail and perfection. And me valuing theming above all else puts this park in the number 3 spot. Interesting. As I begin to grow out of my Disney phase, I start to value finding a good thrill, but still theming above all else, as always. This park does not provide that compared to the top 2 parks. You only have 1 extreme coaster called Raging Spirits, and it looks to be quite mid. It's like a Wild Mouse with the most bulkiest restraints ever, or a Pinfari Zyklon that's not as janky. However, Journey to the Center of the Earth looks to fill in some of the thrill gap that this park is missing. Additionally, you have the better version of the Indiana Jones Dark Ride, Midway Mania, and the Tower of Terror. Like I said before, this is one of the coolest parks you can ever go to. Who also build a massive volcano that spits out fire than Disney itself? The whole theme puts you in an immersed world like no other, and the fact that there is so much water to look at truly makes this park special. Despite this, the lack of coasters is what the next 2 parks on my bucket list have over TokyoDisney Sea. Like I said earlier, the number 2 spot is also held by a park in Japan, and you probably guessed wrong. It's not Fuji-Q Highland or Nagashima Spawn. It's actually Universal Studios Japan. There's really only 2 reasons I want to go to this park. No, I need to go to this park. Flying Dinosaur and Hollywood Dream. I have a weird fascination to Flying Dinosaur. I already explained that in my top 10 bucket list coaster videos, and if you are really that interested, you can go check it out yourself. Now for Hollywood Dream, I think it's the coolest thing ever. The first POV I saw of it, the first time I ever heard of it, I watched it, and the song selection was On Our Way by the Royal Concept. And not even kidding, I was listening to this song as I wrote some of this script. Solely because of this, I want to get out to Universal Studios Japan, and really to hope they do not change the songs available. How cool would it be to ride a B&M Hyper or Mega, I really don't know, while listening to one of your favorite songs. You also have some of the Universal classics, Harry Potter Land, Waterworld, and soon to become a classic, Nintendo Land. If they get the Donkey Kong roller coaster, and it's exactly what I've heard it is, it will give me even more reason to visit this park. For the good theming mixed with the unique roller coasters, Universal Studios Japan gets my number 2 spot on my park bucket list. Now for the number 1 park I want to visit before I die. If you watched the top 10 bucket list coaster video, you know what this park is going to be on here. In fact, 2 of their coasters made it into my top 10. This park is Fantasia Land, but I'm just going to call it Fantasia Land because I don't give a. This park, I would say, is the only park in the entire world that I think is in contention of being my number 1 over Disneyland. This is because they have good extreme coasters with the highest level of theming. Fly is a coaster of my dreams, and I would take a solid bet that it would become my number 1. You also have Terran and Black Mamba. Despite the shallow lineup, there's just so much I want to do at this park. Even the Adventure Trail looks to be one of the coolest experiences I can ask for. I can literally talk about this park for hours, but just to put it very shortly, there's not a huge lineup with the biggest coasters, but there's some of the best theming around, and when you combine that with elite coasters, there's not much more than you can ask for. I really hope that I can get to all these parks in my lifetime and cannot wait for what the future unfolds. And that's it for today's video. These are my top 10 bucket list parks. Let me know your bucket list parks in the comment section below, and as always, make sure to like and subscribe. Have a great rest of your day. Goodbye.